I've got a question. In our last video with Sherry, and this question for both of you, you talked about problems with freedom and free will, like with people acting for their own purposes without considering what's best for everyone. So could it be that the Greys know that our personal freedoms need to be limited so humanity can develop towards higher consciousness? So I guess I could ask Sherry first, and then Judy could comment on that.
So you're asking if the Greys know that we need to be limited?
Yeah, like free will. Like I guess I'm concerned about like the growth of globalism, which I usually associate like with the reptarians, like the globalist government. Is it possible that the Greys are involved and they need to curb free will? Like I'm a Buddhist teacher. The Buddha said the problem with free will is greed, hatred, and delusion are the three roots of unwholesome action. Like if everybody's just free, like the rugged American individualists, they tend to indulge in their own ego or passions. So does humanity need to be guided and curbed? Like do the Greys need to guide humanity to actually curb free will and freedom to have some guidance for all of humanity?
I hope they don't think that. I guess the way that I look at it, Brian, is that planet Earth was an experiment. They decided to do an experiment with free will because it's not common on all planets to have free will. And because they set this up as a planet of duality and gave free will just to see what would come of it, what would happen. And because humans are a unique species, also somewhat in that we're kind of we're at the same time we're the mutts of the universe, but we're also the royalty of the universe because we have a little bit of everything in us, you know. We're all hybrids from way back when. So they gave us, we were endowed with free will, which I'm not an advocate of free will myself. I mean, I personally wish everybody would just live in alignment with their higher self and with the creator and align their will with the creator's will, because that would take care of all problems. But I don't think it would be right to go on this journey to experience free will just to have the Greys or anyone else come in from another system and control us. They have no business. They can't really do that. That impinges on the protocols that are put forth with other planets. You can't interfere. There's a rule of non-interference. So I would hope that they are not trying to do that, but they don't always, the nasty little Greys that we've talked about, the ones that Judy talked about, they don't honor any of that. They're not part of that contingency. But I think free will has been an interesting thing to experience, but I don't like it. I'm not an advocate of it, and I don't like being on a planet where there is free will. I much prefer being on a planet where there's unity consciousness and connection to source, and everyone is service to others, and so there's all that harmony. But it was interesting to experience, and it's been interesting to observe. But that's my thoughts on it.
Okay, Judy.
Yeah. It's interesting. Planet Earth is a school planet, and so free will is necessary down here because people need to be able to choose whether they want to, choose love or fear, right or wrong, etc. But down here, yes, there is control of free will, very much so. I mean, the controllers do that. They control human free will. What we're trying to learn to access is what we could call God's will or cosmic will, so that on higher planets, people don't operate by free will. They don't have free will. They operate through this higher God's will. And the difference is free will down here, as you were saying, you can hurt other people with it. It was my choice. I'm allowed to do it. I don't care about anyone else. On higher planets like the tall Greys and the higher beings like that, every act that is carried out is for the good of everyone. It's never completely for self, because they realize that in the end, if you do the right thing by everyone around you, you're the winner as well. Everyone wins. And this is where the idea of oneness comes from, everyone working together in accord. And this is what's gone wrong with planet Earth. Why planet Earth is so disempowered, or humans down here are so disempowered, is because of free will, and they all fight each other.
But I agree that it's gone wrong. I agree with what you're saying, Carol, that it's gone wrong and it's gone too far. but it was also kind of purposeful to allow it to play itself out
Yes.
because of the role that humans are going to be playing in the future. When we've experienced it all, and we need it to go into the depths of that darkness and the
Yeah.
suffering and all that we've experienced here, the devastation, so that we know how bad it can be, so that there's never any doubt or any question about, because as we move forward and into the light, we don't ever have to question, we don't ever have to ask, I wonder what it would be like. We're done with that now. This is never going to be repeated again. Everything on planet Earth, I mean, my life has been recorded. A lot of the lives on planet Earth have been recorded so that people can see in the future what it was like to live in a society where there was free will, where it had the balance had gotten out of hand. And they can recognize that it didn't look so pretty, and we're never going back to that again. So, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
what I'm comparing this to is like the order. So you have the Gray Society, there's a lot of order, and also with telepathy, there's an openness and like a community feeling. So if like, so over a period of a couple of centuries, we're being hybridized and moving more towards that type of a society, especially with starseed children coming in, is there, I guess what I'm getting at is, our humanity going through a transition where there's going to be limitation on free will more for what's better for the group? Like, are we going that direction towards a society similar to the Grays?
Yeah, well, the free will down here is the test we're going through on a school planet, and we have to pass that test to be able to access the higher frequency God will.
Yeah,
But we've got to go through it.
we're going to evolve out of it. That's what's going to happen. We're going to evolve naturally out of it, where our frequency, as your frequency goes up, you no longer are drawn to that. I mean, your ego, you go through the ego death, for one thing, when you awaken. And so once your ego is pretty well out of the picture, you just naturally, as evolution occurs, you go into the higher frequencies and you become a service to others, and you don't want that kind of life. So no one has to come in and control us, and no one has to lead us around by the nose. It's going to happen naturally for us as we awaken and people's frequency rises.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was hoping for. Yeah, like it's a gradual process. I know Jeff Silver here in Vancouver, he's the author of the book, The Rising. And I think he said maybe it'll be a couple of centuries, like it's a period of time. I'm wondering, in your view, is this something that's going to carry on for centuries? Like, it's probably been over a century. They've been gradually bringing in this transition, right? Everything's kind of gradual, isn't it?
Yeah.
I do not believe it's going to be gradual. I believe it's going, my experience with the frequency shifts are that when the frequency gets to a certain level, it can create a spontaneous awakening. It can create a physical change in the body and in the person. Healing can be spontaneous, everything. So I don't see this happening over centuries of time. I see us as we move through this photon belt, and there is the solar flare, or whatever you want to call it, that happens, the event that everybody, I do believe in that happening, and the Creator God will send out this burst of energy, this light, and that's when everybody goes to the frequency that they resonate with, and that it changes. I don't see it being a gradual thing going on over generations. It just, that would not serve the purpose, I don't think. I don't know, Judy, what do you think?
Yeah. I think it's been gradual up until now, but now I can see it really starting to,
Right, up till now, but I think we're
up till now,
we're nearing the pivotal point, because we're in the shift.
because the light's now coming in, so people are becoming more enlightened.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I hope so. Yeah, I guess I kind of think, oh, I'll probably miss the action, not in my lifetime. You know, hope it's faster.
Yeah, I think you'll see it. My guys have told me it'll happen in your lifetime, I think, Brian.
I'll stick around till I'm 92. Okay.
Maybe
Sooner.
Not gonna take that long.
Okay, so next we have for questions, Joe Nell. Where are you, Joe?
Well, good evening, Sharon. It's good to see you again. I hope you're feeling well, or better, getting better. So my first question might seem a little strange, but I've heard you describe Da, when you first remembered seeing him, as having a mouth that doesn't open. And then I started wondering, well, do they eat? And if
I
they
still-
don't eat, or are there other races that don't eat, they have some other way of sustenance? And
Yeah.
it may be a silly question, but it just one that's I've been wondering about. Or is
Yeah,
it just, go ahead. Sorry.
The very, very highly evolved greys can basically get their sustenance from universal life force energy. They're totally attuned to that. But down a little bit lower, where they do have a more physical existence, yes, they do eat, but what they do, they either use a paste that's rubbed into the skin, or they have little wafer-like things that they can put into their mouth. With the greys, the lower jaw is basically immovable, but they can open their mouth slightly. Now, this is really interesting because I've had trouble with this all my life, and still the left side of my face is slightly physically affected by the grey persona. I've actually had to have physiotherapy done on my mouth to be able to work my lower jaw. And on one occasion, my grey teacher, Maris, came in. It was when I was very first starting to get up and speak out about this. And I think part of it is because I've obviously got grey DNA in me. And the other part was I was feeling very scared about getting up and talking out openly as a grey. And I started getting lockjaw. And Maris came in and massaged me all around here, around my face. It was quite an interesting experience to have a grey doing this, tall grey, because they got really long fingers. And at one point he was behind me. I felt like I was in a dentist chair, and he had my head back supported against his body, and these long fingers going massaging right down here into my throat. But it wasn't a choking sensation. It was fine. It was okay. It felt okay. And then he came up and he was working all around my mouth like that. And at the time, I didn't know what he was doing. And I said, now, what are you doing? You're giving me healing, because I've got a pretty healthy set of teeth. I only have one filling in my head. I said, I don't need healing on my mouth. And he said, no, he said, I'm working to relax the muscles to assist you to speak out, for the work to speak out for us down here. And then a few years later, when I did have to actually speak at my first conference, I actually had to go and get physiotherapy beforehand to loosen my jaw up. And the Earth Human physiotherapist was basically doing exactly what Maris was doing, only she wasn't going right down into my throat. She was just massaging all the inside of my mouth, and on the outside she was doing it, because she didn't have the long fingers to be able to do that, thank goodness. I was also guided to learn elocution at school. So this preparation and training has been going on for me for a long time. I actually attended a Catholic convent, and our Mother Superior used to teach elocution classes, and I attended elocution classes to help me to speak out and to open my jaw properly, because I was always getting into trouble for not speaking out properly. So that's my story.
Thank you for that. That's it just made me think, well, just because we eat and other races eat, maybe that's not necessary for all races. My other question, or another question, is the children that are being born on the planet now, do you think they're primarily from higher vibration as they're coming in, or it's still could be either or, not necessarily souls that are coming in specifically for the shift on the planet, or do you think there are other maybe longer term Earth souls that are being born again in the hopes of maybe making the transition, or what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, yeah, we'll get Sherry in on this, but my thoughts are they're both happening. I think that the majority of children coming in are star children, but a lot of others who are coming in are being born at this time to experience the shift. They want to be here for the shift. So I'd say it's a bit of both. What do you reckon, Sherry?
The children being born have to be of a high frequency. So that's the thing, so a lot of them will be star children, but they can still be some of what I call the native Earth souls if their frequency is high enough. So they have to be of a high frequency. Otherwise, it would be kind of a waste for them to come in at this time when we're transitioning so quickly into the higher frequencies. So I think that they are already wired to a lot to be able to endure that, because it wouldn't be right otherwise. I just doesn't make sense to me that it would be any different than that. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think I have a grandson that's 3, and just, my feelings is that he's just not like what people expect. He's didn't really start speaking much until he was 3, and it always felt like he had his own language. Like, just because we think he should talk English doesn't mean that English is his native language, and that maybe he had his own language. I mean, he jabbered, but anyway, that's just, so I've thought of that a lot, is that the children coming in, because we're so close to the shift, or I hope we're close to the shift, that they would be coming in at a higher frequency, and the parents are going to have their work cut out for them, because they're not going to be like what they expect, or they're going to be different. They're challenging, and in a good way, but still challenging. So anyway, that was that question. Then
I know I was certainly challenging as a child. I don't know how you were, Sherry, but I don't know how my parents put up with me.
I was very quiet. I was the invisible child.
Yeah, I was quiet, but oh my God, like school was absolute hell. I don't know how they ever got me to school. I don't think I ever did a whole full week of school in my whole time there.
and then also, I think a lot of people like me are frustrated with what seems like things are more or less staying the same. I know they're not. I know there's a lot going on underground. A lot of stuff's being cleared out. But, the disclosure that we all want, we think, it seems like, oh, well, there'll just be this big red wave, and then things are going to start becoming more public. And then you got to wonder, well, is it really going to become more public? Or is that going to be another slow boat? And they still have a lot to do behind the scenes without disclosure, or before they make disclosure. So that, like you'd said before, Sherry, that the public doesn't, can't function because it's too shocking. I mean, I know a lot of people that, I would not even dare to broach some of what I know happens for that very reason. Like they would not be able to comprehend the level of evil that's going on, or has been going on.
Right. But we're running out of time. I mean, there is a limited amount of time in this whole thing. It isn't like we can linger in this state for 100 years as we wait for the people to wake up, or wait for a new generation to come in that's more equipped and able to deal with it. We have to deal with what is here now. And, I mean, my work is directly involved in the awakening of the masses. That's what I'm here for. And so I do get some updates, and I do know some stuff. And we're about out of time waiting for the sleepers, and the chips will fall where they may. It is going to be coming out, and I know people are really frustrated. They're really angry, but you're only seeing a tiny little bit, just a teensy weensy little bit, and even that is distorted. The truth of the matter is this has been a huge, huge, huge endeavor, and it's taken not just the military on planet Earth, of which not even all they are, not all of them are on board with it. There's a faction of the military that's still on the negative side, but we've got the alliance, which is working with the ET alliances that are here to help and to assist us with this cleansing. It's been a huge war, and it's amazing. People are going to be dumbfounded. They're just going to be dumbfounded. Even the people who are awake and think they know so much about what's been going on are going to be shocked. And so it's a delicate matter, but we can't wait much longer. We can't wait much longer. This was delayed already 10 years as we waited for humanity to try to raise their frequency. So it's going to be any day now. It's going to be any day now. They're not going to be able to keep a lid on it much longer. The election did not go as we thought it was going to go, but it did. There was a red wave. It's just that we're not seeing it. And that's not to say that the Republicans are the winners and the Democrats, that duality, it has to fall away. And that will fall away after this election, because the Democratic Party probably won't survive it when the truth comes out. But the Republican Party is there's no better, that's for sure. It's just that it happened that the dark aligned mostly with that party. And so there's no judgment in any of that. It's the dark ones, they're like rats, and they took up wherever they could find a spot to fill and gain some power for themselves and for their kind. But disclosure's coming, and it isn't something that can happen by, like I said before, it can't be a little bit of disclosure. It has, once they go there, it's going to be like an avalanche. You can't tell a little bit of this story. You can't say, oh, there were some children who were trafficked. It's going to come out, the whole rotten, stinking mess is going to come out and it's one thing's going to lead to another, to another, to another. And, and then we'll get to see justice done. I mean, a lot of these criminals have already faced their tribunals and have already been found guilty and have already been executed even. And so it's delicate, because there are people who still believe that some of these rotten to the core people are good people, and that they were decent, law-abiding, wonderful people who only had the best interests of our country and plan. And for them to find out different is going to be hard for them. So when it happens, it's going to be, I think they're saying that like 3% of the population will never be able to accept it. And those people are going to lose their minds. And for the others, there's going to be more of those, they might not lose their minds, but they're going to need help. They're going to need a lot of help dealing with it. So it's delicate, but don't give up hope, Jonelle. It's going to happen.
But you feel like it's coming in the fairly near future. It is coming very, very near future. Yeah. Yeah.
Like I say, when it shifts, it's going to shift really fast. And see what that's going to do. I mean, it's all tied together with the ascension, because the disclosure is going to wake people up. They're going to wake up, and what happens when people wake up? They see the truth and they start to search. And because there's going to be other benefits to this whole thing with everybody's financial situation is going to change, because that's going to free energy. People are going to have more time. There's going to be more freedom on the planet all of a sudden. And they're going to have time, so they'll be able to spend time awakening, raising their frequency, meditating, and there's going to be this mass awakening of the frequency on the planet is going to rise, which is going to allow for us to have the solar flare, which is the ascension. So it all ties in together. I used to get mad at my guys back whenever it was when I said, why do I have to be involved in politics? I don't want to be involved in politics. I'm here for the people. I'm here to help with all that and with the awakening, but I don't want to be involved in politics. So it all ties in together. You can't be here to serve this planet and help awaken it without getting involved in the political nature of what's going on, because that's the hand that's holding us as slaves and keeping us under control and kept us down. So we have to reveal that. And it's not been fun talking to people and trying to make them understand that the people that they think are such wonderful upstanding citizens and have, all the presidents, look at all the presidents, how far back you have to go before you find one who wasn't corrupt and rotten to the core and complicit in the child trafficking and every other evil thing. It's a long way you have to go back before you find that. So it's not fun, it's not pretty, but it has to happen.
But Sharon, I'm glad you mentioned your mission is to raise awareness. That's the whole purpose of this meetup group, is to raise awareness about the alien agenda for human advancement. That's the mission of my life. And I should make an appeal to the video audience, this audience, if anybody wants to volunteer to get involved with the Preparing for Alien Contact meetup. We edit videos, we make thumbnails, we arrange guests. It's like we're running a little TV studio here. So we're always looking for volunteers, and people can donate as well. We have a donate button on the website. So this is good. Did you want to comment on this, on Judy, on the question? Did you want to comment?
Yeah. Well, what I feel, my role down here, I just get right out of the political side, right out of it. I work more on the religion and spirituality, cosmic spirituality, as compared to earth plane religion. That's my strong point. And I think this is why I was educated in a convent, so that I can, I've experienced both sides of it, and I can have run parallels between the two: religion, earth plane religion, and cosmic spirituality. And in fact, that's what my latest book, Cosmic Spirituality, is about.
Okay, and the website's below the video if they can find your book, right?
Yes, the Zeta Message.
Yeah.
And my website is ufograyinfo.com. And our podcast is the Zeta Message, which is all one word, with a capital T, capital Z, and capital M.
Okay, and Sherry, what's your website? Want to give it to the audience?
It's theforgottenpromise.net.
Okay, yeah, so next for questions, we got Ma, Nick, and then Rolf, and then Mark and Lisa. What a happening scene. So Ma, Nick, you're next. Where are you? Tell the audience.
Thank you, Brian, and nice to meeting you, Judy, and good to see you, Sherry. My first question is for the two of you and follows the one of Joe Neal. Talking about eating, should we go for bugs and lab food to avoid killing animals? Well, living in Cambodia, I know that here they eat bugs. I don't, but they do. And second question is, what do you think about the fact that China and Japan are preparing for war? Thank you, ladies.
I didn't even know China and Japan were preparing for war. War is just a thing down here. It's just part of being on a level 1 planet.
Yeah. The first question was about eating bugs. I can answer that. I think Judy will probably agree with me 100%. And that is, of course, the humans are not physically set up to digest bugs, and it's just part of the dark agenda, and it goes in with all the other crap that they're trying to throw at us to keep us stupid and under their thumb. So it's ridiculous, of course. So that's my thoughts on that. And the other question, yeah, and the other, again, Judy kind of already said, I mean, it's just that it's fear tactics. All that is coming, the war thing and the bug thing are coming from the same source, and it's just nothing but fear tactics and distractions and diversions. So I wouldn't pay any attention to any of it. We're not going to have any kind of nuclear war on the planet. So
yeah, I agree with that, Sherry. I just don't, there's so much rubbish being put out, fear tactics. I just don't link into any of it. Yeah. Because we create, the main thing to understand is we create our own reality, and your reality is where your mind focuses. So if you focus on negative stuff, you bring it in for yourself, Right. And as far as the blood, oh my goodness, no way. I never eat at a restaurant because of the way they serve steaks with, all the blood in the middle. I'm just about vegetarian. I do eat a little bit of meat, but certainly not as a grey. They're purely vegetarian. They don't take life. But at the same time, I even feel bad when I cut a cabbage because, plant life has a soul as well. But down here, we have to eat to be able to sustain ourselves.
You ladies are making me hungry. So Sherry, do you want to comment on that or anything else?
No, I think I pretty much covered it.
Okay. To Mark, you go next.
Okay. I got a couple questions. For both ladies. Have the ETs told you what will trigger the disclosure?
As far as I understand, humanity will trigger it themselves.
Right. They're not, they're involved and they're watching and everything. They're guiding, but they're not interfering. And it's up to humanity to bring this about. We need to learn to stand on our own 2 feet. We've been manipulated and led around and controlled, and too many people are just happy to be passive and to turn away. It's been my experience when you might point out the chemtrails to someone, or maybe you bring up the subject of the children being trafficked and being sacrificed. I'm getting tired here, so that they actually turn away. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to have to deal with it. So that's got to change. They have to understand that they need to take responsibility, that just because it's not them that's sacrificing the child, they are condoning it by their silence and by their complicity. And so it goes with our awakening process and disclosure process. We have to be the ones out in the streets, if we have to take to the streets to like Brazil has done, to demand that our election results be accurate and fair, then that's what we need to do. We can't always be sitting back waiting for it. We've been trained to wait for a savior. It's been ingrained in us through our religions and just through the centuries on this planet. And that's not how it works. Everyone has to be a sovereign being and take responsibility.
Yeah, well, I certainly have some ideas on the triggering the disclosure. Who knows? My second question is, let's talk propulsion. I'd like to know exactly what the ETs, if anything, they have disclosed to you about how exactly the anti-gravity system works on their crafts.
Well, my guys took me and showed me how the system works on the small craft, the smaller ones, the saucer shaped ones. And it's an anti-gravity thing. And for about a week or 2 weeks after that, I was talking about it to anybody who would listen to me because it was so fascinating. And I was using words that I didn't even know. And I understood it completely, but I've lost it. Over the years.
No.
Yeah, it's just gone. But they did show it to me and it was fascinating. It was interesting, but I'm not able to hang on to that. With that, Brian, I'm going to say goodbye because I wasn't feeling good when I came on. So
Oh, Sherry, I understand. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm so glad you came though. So thanks for coming. If you want to take a rest and come back, we could be here for hours. Who knows? But let's do it another time.
Yeah, I'm up for doing it again. I almost didn't come on tonight, but I made it longer than I thought I would, but I can't even hardly form words right now. I'm getting so tired. So I will say adieu. Thank you for having me. And I would love to do it again. It was fun joining with Judy.
Lovely connecting with you, Sherry.
Yeah, nice to see you again. So thank you all.
Well, you're in our prayers. We'll send our good health
Hope
to
you
you.
feel
and
better.
We'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Yeah, be
Thanks.
well.
Yes.
Thanks, Sherry. Well, I'm glad she lasted for 2 hours. That was great. to
Yeah,
get the
she
two of you
did well.
together, Judy. Yeah.
Yeah, it was lovely. I'm really pleased she came. Just to talk about the craft propulsion a little bit, to go back to that question, I too can't retain any of the technical stuff, but all I do know that the ships are, they work on like 0-point energy, universal life force energy. And the ships are partly actually conscious living beings. And when we pilot the ships, we have to wear a special suit, which acts like an electrical conduit, bringing the energy in through our crown chakra and down through the body, down through our hands and feet. And we place our hands on a, like a, can I say, console sort of thing. And the energy comes down through our heart chakra and down our arm meridians. So we channel the energy. It's a much, much bigger thing than giving Reiki down here, but it works on a similar principle.
Okay. Any recollection about how the bottom of the craft, the emitters that are down there, are configured? Any knowledge of what type of technology I don't want to put words in your mouth.
No, I don't have that information. All I can say is there's a whole range of different technologies out there. Some have different technology, higher technology, some have lower technology. The technology that I'm familiar with is purely consciousness technology.
The
so
interface.
This is where science down here needs to go. It needs to open up more to the fact that everything in the universe has consciousness. It's a universal consciousness. And this is what the ships that I'm familiar with run on, universal consciousness.
I agree. Thank you.